Okay, guys, welcome to the Budget Guitar Show, and here we have with us today the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Glenn Matlock.
Oh, how you doing, Johnny? All right,
Yeah,
good to speak to you again.
Not too bad. Thanks for coming on. Now, I want to go back to where things first started. How did music start for you? And what's the story behind your first guitar, which I believe is in the Hard Rock Cafe in London?
Oh, yeah, it is, yeah. I got it for Christmas from my mum and dad, and they probably got it on the knock from a shop. It's funny, they probably got it on the knock from a music shop, which was in Holsden, or part of Holsden, up the Hour Road. The area is actually called Craven Park. But that was next door to a cinema where I saw my first X movie. But it was also, it shut down, and then that's where we rehearsed for the Anarchy Tour. So it was only about 2 doors along.
Oh, right, yeah, because that was the Roxy, wasn't it, at Harlesden?
Yeah, for a little bit.
Yeah.
But it was the Odeon, I think, the Odeon Harlesden.
Oh,
and
right,
the guitar, I think it was called a Delmont, whatever that is.
Yeah.
And it had the Immortal Legend inside the sound. It's just an acoustic, still strong acoustic. And inside the sound hole, it had the legend. It says, guaranteed not to split.
And did it ever split?
It never split, no. The thing is, I tried to learn to play it, and the thing is out. I mean, I was about 10 or 11 then, you know, and I think the guitar probably cost sort of like £7 and 12 shillings or something like that. You know, it was all right, but the action was dreadful. And but because I couldn't learn to play it, my dad worked at Rolls-Royce at the time, and he brought back a load of veneer that they use in Rolls-Royces.
Yeah.
So instead of learning to play it, I covered it in walnut veneer from Rolls-Royce. Right, you know, something to do.
Yeah.
And to put it on you, I mean, I couldn't believe it as a young kid, right? I'd be on the gas stove from maybe I'm about 11 and a half by then, the gas stove. My dad brought back all these little tiny balls, which is fish glue, which they use at Rolls-Royce, and you've got to boil it up in a saucepan. Right? Yeah, at that age, you know, and I'm smoothing it all on and trying to do it as carefully as possible. It came out all lumpy, and so that was on that for a bit. And then I took it all off and rubbed it down and just stained it, the top.
Yeah.
And that looked dreadful. And then I thought, oh, I've seen guitars when they got all fancy bits around the you know, the sound hole.
Oh, yeah.
So I drew it in by hand in biro.
Wow.
But that's what it looks like now in the Hard Rock. But I went down there. It's at the Hard Rock in London. There's the Hard Rock in London, or the original one in Piccadilly. And it's on the corner, and on the next corner is an old bank, which they've turned into their merch store. And downstairs, they got a vault. I don't know if you've ever been down there. It's quite fantastic. They got a vault, and you go in, and it was the actual vault where they kept the money, right? I took my kids down when they were smaller. Yeah. And I go in there, and they got like Jimi Hendrix's Flying V or something, Jimmy Page's something over, John Entwistle's bass, Les Paul's second Les Paul, all arranged around this safe that looks like it's had the doors blown off. And in the safe, in private, is the guitar my mum and dad bought me. And I was chatting to I didn't sell it I sold it to some bloke years ago to pay the mortgage, right? Yeah. Then it's ended up there. But I was chatting to the girl who shows people around. She said, my guitar is the most popular thing with the young kids because it's something they can identify with, you know, so I was quite proud of that. Yeah. Anyway, I got it out and tried to play it. It was dreadful. No wonder we ended up with punk rock.
Do you remember your first bass guitar? Because I seem to remember you describing it once as one that had the cord sort of welded into it. You couldn't. Yeah,
it was hardwired. It was like a copy of. I didn't know at the time, but looking back, it was a copy of an Epiphone Rivoli. So it was like a semi-acoustic bass. I don't know if you've seen the Clash's London Calling video, and Paul Simon was playing an Epiphone Rivoli bass. That was my one. I sold it to him.
Oh, right.
But the first bass I had was a copy of that, although the one he uses is like a tobacco sunburst, and the one I had was like a red sunburst. But the lead there wasn't a jack socket. It was wired into the guitar, and I didn't have a case. And to take it anywhere, you have to wind the lead around the neck and put it in a laundry bag and get on number 18 bus to go and play with your mates up in Armstrong.
Fair play.
It's funny. And I had another bass that was that I had with my Pistol sort of audition with Steve, Paul and Wally, and it was like a lilac coloured sort of like a Fender Mustang kind of thing, with a go faster stripe on it that somebody had put on it. It looked kind of cool, but I think looking back, it was actually just a Fender Stratocaster, or a cheap, not a real one, you know, a pretend one, that somebody had taken two of the strings off and just put full bass on.
Well, there you go. That's punk rock in itself.
It kind of was, yeah. But when I went to the audition and played that one, Wally said to me, it was a bit like in what's it, Crocodile Dundee, you know, the blokes when they pull a knife out and he pulls out an even bigger knife, he goes, that's all right, that's all right. But Wally said to me after, I said, well, you got the gig, but you can't play that, that's not a bass. I said, what's a bass then? And then from under his bed he pulled out Fender Precision. I said, where'd you get that? They said, don't ask. So I didn't.
Yeah. Was that the one that's like a natural finish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but you know what? That I preferred the purple one because that one was a plank, but it was Steve, so I never kept hold of that.
And I was just going to ask, because the released 45, or is it 45 or 46 years ago today, Anarchy in the UK, and in the promo you're using the Rickenbacker 4001, which is currently on show up in Liverpool, and
I put it there because to insure guitars for a bloke like me cost a blinking fortune. Yeah. And it's there, so they pay for the insurance. And it was in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland. I lent it to them for a couple of years, but I kind of wanted it back. Yeah. Right. But that was my bass. That was my first proper bass, and I got that out of the advance from EMI.
Yeah. Why did you sort of swap or stop playing that bass in favour of the P basses? Because I believe in the promo you've got that, and I believe you were using it at the Notre Dame Hall in November '76, but then we never really saw it again.
Why did I just found them a bit fiddly, to be honest. And you know what's really good about them is that it's got a stereo output on it. Yeah. And what I used to do when nobody was around, you put a split stereo lead into two monos, and I used to put one through my bass amp, and I used to plug one into Steve's Fender Twin that had tremolo on it, and whack the tremolo right up, and it sounds fantastic for about 5 minutes, and then you get fed up with it, and everybody upstairs goes, "Shut up!" So I never really sort of saw myself as a Chris Squire kind of thing, you know. I think I think, you know, even I know people like him, Jean-Jacques Brunel, and he's good too. It's a bit of a gimmick kind of sound, you know. Yeah. To me, I think basses should sound like bass. You know, if I'm in the studio and I'm playing bass, or I don't do that so much these days, but I'm playing bass, the engineer says, "What do you want it to sound like?" I say, "I'll Tamla Motown." Yeah. You know, I want it to sound like a bass. Yeah, I understand. You know, nice and warm, rounded sound, which you get from a Precision, and you get from Precision by plugging it in, turning the volume right up, and turning the treble right up. Sounds like James Jameson. Yeah. With the Rickenbacker, it'll take you half an hour to get it to sound like a Fender. You know? And
of course, you began the Rich Kids after the Pistols. How did you acquire that Gibson EB0 bass that you used during that time?
Oh, okay. The bass, I bought a Dan Armstrong slider pickup. You had a sliding pickup? Yeah. Beautiful guitar. Had it resprayed cherry red. It was kind of good, and I used that for a bit. But then I saw in a shop the Gibson you was talking about. Yeah. And I realised the Dan Armstrong, the shape of it, was a bit of a copy of the Gibson EB0, I think it was.
Yeah, that's right.
I had a little sports car, a Sunbeam Alpine by them, and the Dan Armstrong wouldn't fit in the boot. But guess what? The Gibson, because it was short scale, did, and that's the reason I bought it, because if it...
Right. Cheers, Glenn. Thanks very much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. Thanks for asking.
Cheers.
Good luck.